Radhe Radhe. Welcome, my dear viewers. Today we are starting another Sangha. As always, may this be an offering to Sri Radha Krishna. And as we wait our first guests to arrive, in the present moment, allow me to set the intention for this space as being a welcoming environment, open to everyone, regardless of background, identity, orientation, belief system, ethnicity. I am not so concerned with these things as I am concerned with us coming together to find the unity beneath our experiences. Now, hello, Vince of York. Thank you for the heart me you have sent, blessing us so early on in our live stream. Om Namah Shivaya. And Namaskar Viri. Welcome. I hope you are well. And if you are not feeling so, that is okay. You are certainly allowed to feel anyway. If it has arisen to you in this moment, this is part of your experience, and that's allowed. But hello, dear Michelle. Hello, Sam. It is Sawan Shivrati. Oh, I did not even know that. Thank you. And hello, Kimberly and Haunted Cadaver. Welcome. It is my goal for us to come together as fellow students of life from all sorts of backgrounds to uplift each other, relate in one another's experiences, and share positive sentiments. Hello, Evelyn. Hello, Chris, and welcome, Adam. You all are early enough for me to play around with this question of the day together. I'm wondering, I believe this is a practical question for a lot of us. My question today is, what can we do instead when our mind has a desire for something that we know is unhealthy? This happens in many ways, like in the choices we make, like in our addictions, maybe how our relationship habits. I think there are many ways in which we are faced with this question. Now, thank you, Danny, for your rose. Radhe Radhe. Olski, you wish you knew the answer to this one. Me too. Me too. I think it's something that I'm learning still, definitely. But please take as long as you need to answer this question. I know that this can be a personal one. And there are no wrong answers necessarily. So I invite you to explore it in any possible way that makes sense to you. Oh, thank you, dear one, with an emoji that looks sad. I do not know your username, so I'll have to call you by your face. Emoji that looks like... Thank you for that heart, me. I like that you like my video. Big say, I'm happy to hear that. Now, back to the question of the day. Haunted Cadaver, you share that you do yoga to reset your mind. I love that. That is a wonderful thing to do in such a situation. And Viri, you share that you can identify and accept the desire, weigh the pros and cons, and try to find an alternative that is healthy. I like that. Very rational. Olski, you share pain immersion. It's very interesting. I'd like to know further what you mean by that. You are called Humble. Yes, you are. Humble the Mumble. Now I see it. Well, thank you, Humble, for the heart me. Hello, Vanessa. You share, you guess, by replacing the habit by a healthier one. Breathing helps. Breathing definitely does. It's amazing how much a shift in our breath can influence this moment and our feelings, our whole physiology. Thank you, Hrsi, for your quartet of finger hearts. And a heart me. Welcome, my friend. Radhe, Radhe. Thank you, Vanessa, for your community festo. Jai Sitaram. Oski, you share, you add, immerse yourself in the pain, the full reality. Don't run to desires. That makes more sense. Thank you for expanding on that. I fully relate with that. You love the Radhe, Radhe, Rati. Well, your name is very similar. Radhe, Radhe. It's a shout out to Radha, a goddess in Hinduism. Viri, you share, don't beat yourself up about it. It's okay to still be working towards betterment. Beautifully put. Yeah. Meditate. Shares 0548 Isa. Meditation is wonderful. Yeah. And Michelle, you asked the question. We can ask ourselves what is actually supposed to be satisfied. Does that make sense? Yes, it does make sense. Indeed. Nosuke, you share. So far the best one that's been shared here is breathing exercises. You will try that. I love that. We all start somewhere, shares Veri. Yes, we do. And Aurora, you share that you try to focus on what's really going on and what your brain needs instead of wants in the moment. I like that. I like that. Sometimes there is a need hidden beneath the want, and the want is an attempt to fill that need, but we can introspect and see what actually needs to happen. Haunted Cadaver, you're wondering, what is my answer to this question? Well, I'd like to hear from all of you, and then I'll give my own experience at the end. Take baby steps, shares Anna. I like that. Break it up into bite-sized pieces. And hello, Michael Taylor's Potato Shop. Thank you for your weekend blessings. Michelle, you share, for instance, when we try to numb any sort of pain with an unhealthy desire. That's a great observation. Are we trying to avoid our feelings? Are we trying to suppress some sensation? Larry, you share that we can surround ourselves with good energy and people who want the best for us. I love that. Yeah, that makes a big difference. And Evelyn, you want to share that you don't know the answer. The desires seem to be bigger than you can handle. Well, that's very humble for you to share, and I know what that feels like. Absolutely. And Laura, you really love all the different answers and perspectives. They all make sense to you. Thank you for sharing that, Laura. I agree. And thank you, Soul Reaper, for your heart me. Nice to see you again. Hari Om Tat Sat. And Viri, thank you for the heart me. Om Sum Saryaya Namaha. And thank you, Tayla, for your rose as well. That's very kind of you. Om Namah Shakti Shivaya. All right. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for exploring this question of the day with me. Always a good exercise to reflect on how we can be patient with ourselves in the moment when our mind is asking for this, trying to avoid that. And Mama Leo, you share that it can depend on one's own definition of unhealthy. Absolutely. Whatever makes sense to you. So, as many of you are asking now, what do I do? Well, I really like the sentiment of forgiving yourself first for having this desire. That's not something that we should feel guilty for. If we can replace it with an alternative that still fulfills the same need, I think that really hit the nail on the head. That there's an opening for an experience, and we are only searching for something to fill that in the ways that we can. But if we dive a little deeper, maybe there are other ways. And I really like what Olski said as well about you have to allow yourself to be uncomfortable, that you have the power to resist the discomfort. The thing about desires is that they're exponential experiences. Every time we fulfill them, they come back maybe doubled in intensity. So it's an exponential growth of how much we go in search of something. But every time we wait out the sensation, then they halve in intensity. So there's an exponential decay in the intensity in which they arise. So you can ask yourself, do you want this desire to come back stronger or come back weaker? If the answer is weaker, then waiting it out. I think it's important to remember that it's not the fulfillment of a desire that makes one happy. It's the desire being dissipated. And one way to dissipate a desire is to fulfill it. But the other way is to wait it out. And there is still the same equanimity that occurs, but it just requires a little discomfort. But I agree with every response shared so far. I think you're all wonderful in the insights that you shared. So thank you. And thank you, Arvin, for your hand hearts. Here's some hand hearts for you, Arvin, too. Radhe, Radhe. And thank you for your rosa, too. Hare Krishna. Humble, you're wondering, are those mala beads on my wrist? I believe they are, as they were a gift from my mother. I don't think I've ever done japa on them, though. But they do indeed have 108. But I don't know which one is the guru bead, as the tassel has fallen off. It's also kind of permanently attached to my arm. So I do japa in a different way. But what a great observation. Now, adding to the question of the day, G to Infinity, you share the empowerment. Do not let desire overtake your senses. That's beautiful. And it is lovely to be outside, beans on toast. I'm happy to have the space outside so you can participate virtually. Premonitions you had shared. Happy Saturday for you. Friday for me still. You try to make small changes, so go inside and ask why. Beautifully put. Now there were some questions that were asked in the midst of our exploration of this. For example, Broodjay, I don't know how to pronounce your lovely name, but you share that your mind has a desire for something that you know is unhealthy right now. Any tips? Well, I hope that our exploration of the question of the day was sufficient. Anyway, I'll add that the more we can learn to give instructions to our mind, then the more it listens to us rather than us listening to it. And that takes time and practice. And thank you, Richie. for your applause. I have some applause for you. I'm very grateful for this gift from my mother. My mother always knows what to get me. Vida, you share that I should offer some water to my Shiva Lingam. If you recall correctly, you think I had one later tonight. Thank you. Yes, you are right. I do have one. And it's been a while since I offered something to Shiva Lingam. So, thank you for the reminder. Yes, what a great quote. Psyche Dharma. The mind is a great servant, but a lousy master. All right. So, as many of you know by now, I like to start my lives with the question of the day and then go into a short reading. I think you'll really like this reading today. We're continuing reading The Hidden Power in Humans by Paramahansa Swami Maheshwarananda, the guru of one of our Sanghis here. And they've sent it all the way from Serbia for us to listen to together. This book is all about chakras and kundalini. He's a big yogi, a very traditional yogi. Which side is he on? There he is. Big smile. A jolly old fellow. Today we're reading about the Nadis. Let me click record. The Nadis are energy channels and transmitters. This is a Sanskrit word that refers to all the places in which our awareness can flow in the body and around it too. I believe that as this word has come from Sanskrit, it still exists in many Indian languages for a river. In Hindi, the word for river is Nadi. So you could say that these are the rivers of current throughout our body. In our subtle body specifically. Our sukshuma body, which extends past our physical body, our sthula body. Anyway, nadis are energy channels through which prana, divine energy, life, and consciousness itself streams. Within the human body, there is a subtle and perfect network of 72,000 nadis that distribute this life force throughout the whole body. On the physical level, the nadis correspond to the nervous system, but their influence extends beyond this to the astral and spiritual planes of our existence. If all the nadis are functioning correctly, then we are healthy and generally feel happy. But nearly every one of us has some physical or mental problem, which means that some of the nadis are not working properly and needs to be balanced. Prana is conscious energy, which means that the nadis also transmit consciousness. By means of the nadis, one can see and hear things at a great distance and move in other levels of consciousness. There are numerous reports of people who were clinically dead and then came back to life again. Maybe some of you have experienced such near-death experiences. They nearly all described how they traveled along a tunnel with light radiating at the end. This tunnel is the nadi through which life escapes from the body. We can also have such quote-unquote tunnel experiences in dreams and on astral journeys. With these, we are not really outside the body, but in an altered state of consciousness. The nadis make it possible for us to take mental journeys of discovery throughout the entire universe. With their help, our consciousness is able to go to any place we would like without the body having to move at all. The nadis, or three nadis, are of special importance: the Ida, Pingala, and Sushumna Nadi. The Ida arises in the left side of the body and represents the moon principle, Chandra. Pingala begins on the right side of the body and symbolizes the sun principle, Surya. And Sushumna runs through the central channel of the spinal cord and represents the consciousness. On the physical level, Pingala has its counterpart in the sympathetic nervous system, Ida in the parasympathetic nervous system, and Sushumna in the central nervous system. The moon symbolizes the mind with its changeable feelings, whereas the sun represents the intellect. Just as our emotions and thoughts change constantly, the moon is also constantly changing its form. The intellect, however, is a stable and constant principle, like the sun. Only when harmony and balance prevail between the moon system and the sun system are we healthy and capable of developing further, mentally and spiritually. There are special yoga techniques for harmonizing both principles, such as the Chandra Bhedi Pranayama and the Surya Bhedi Pranayama. Chandra means the moon, referring to the Ida Nadi. Surya means the sun, referring to the Pingala. And Bhedi means the pervading or purifying aspect. The left side of the brain enables rational, abstract, and logical thinking, and the right side relates to the emotions and feelings as well as intuition and creativity. Therefore, one of the reasons for the expression Kundalini, meaning serpent power, originated because of the way in which the Nadis proceeded in a serpentine, and with this resemble the movement of a snake. We are able to activate and harmonize the Nadis through the breath. When we breathe through the left nostril in pranayama, we activate the Ida Nadi. The Ida Nadi cools, quietens, and refreshes the body and mind, like the silvery light of the moon. However, the Pingala Nadi, which is influenced by breathing through the right nostril, has a warming and activating influence in the same way as sunshine warms the earth and stimulates the growth of vegetation. Ida and Pingala begin in the brain at approximately the level of the pituitary gland. Ida has an effect on the right side of the brain, whilst Pingala influences the left hemisphere. To maintain balance, both nadis run in a snake-like course from one side of the body to the other. At the points where they cross, they also meet with the central nadi, Sushumna. At those places where the power and radiance of the sun and moon meet, together with the strengthening effect of the Sushumna, there are very powerful energy centers called Chakras. The first crossing of the nadis is at the top of the spinal column, and it forms the Vishuddhi Chakra, the throat chakra. And the last crossing at the base of the spine forms the Muladhara Chakra, which is the root center. Here, the Ida Nadi flows on the left side of the body and the Pingala Nadi on the right. And it is precisely here that our dominant consciousness lies hidden. At several places along the spinal column, the nadis form a type of knot called a granthi, each of which constitutes a key point in our spiritual development. When these knots are quote-unquote united, the energy located within them is activated, and the hidden powers, known as siddhis, are given to us as healing powers, the seeing of past and future, the seeing of auras, and other supernatural abilities. Other terms for Ida, Pingala, and Sushumna are Ganga, Yamuna, and Saraswati, which, as many of you might know, are referred to as real rivers in India today, with the exception of Saraswati, which is more mythical. It is said that Saraswati once was in between the Ganga and Yamuna, but today there is no such trace of a river. Anyway, these are the names of the 3 holiest rivers in India. Ganga and Yamuna flow on the surface, but Saraswati flows underground. It rises to the surface only once every 12 years. This event happens in conjunction with a particular planetary constellation and is known as the Kumbh Mela. This great spiritual festival of India, held at the confluence of these 3 rivers, known as the Sangam, is attended by millions of people who come to attain liberation from their karmas and the cycle of rebirth by bathing in the sacred waters. But for the yogi, the 3 main nadis are the divine rivers, and the Agya Chakra, the eyebrow center, also known as the 3rd eye, where these nadis meet, is the holy place of pilgrimage where the yogi attains liberation. Just as the mysterious river Saraswati only rarely appears, the Sushumna Nadi is only active for certain short periods of time, for example at dawn or at dusk. When the 3 main nadis unite, only one stream of consciousness flows, the spiritual energy of the Sushumna Nadi. The energy also flows through this Nadi in deep meditation and in samadhi. For as long as the Sushumna is inactive, we are plagued by constantly changing chitta vrittis. Chitta meaning consciousness, and vritti meaning a state or activity or preoccupation. Thought forms, basically. Thoughts, emotions, worries, etc. But once the Sushumna begins to flow, the waves of the mind come to rest, and we, quote-unquote, bathe in the bliss of divine consciousness. There we are. Let's pause our reading of the hidden power in humans there for now. Such a wonderful description of the Nadis. I hope you enjoyed that much as I did. Namaste. And thank you, dear Usha, again for sending this from your Guru Dev. I'm eternally grateful, and thank you for the flowers you sent while we were reading it too. Om Namah Shivaya. Now, there was a lot of terms discussed there, and if ever you wanted to listen back to that section, I am making the recordings of this into an impromptu audiobook that's on a dedicated playlist on the YouTube channel, linked in the link tree in my bio. Thank you, Nikki, for the rose you sent too. Brahm Bhairavaya Namo Namaha. And hello, dear Magdalene. Radhe Radhe. You're very welcome. I'm happy that we got to read this together. Good night, Jacqueline. Now we can dive into any discussion which your heart pleases. And hello, dear Ursula. Thank you for the heart, me too. Nice to see you again. Hare Krishna. And Anna, you already love how the moon is called in Sanskrit. It's a lovely word. One of my favorites, actually. Chandra. Chandra and Surya. Magdalene, you are hoping everyone's heart is doing well in this moment. It's a beautiful wish for us all. I agree. Hello, Manuela. Yes, Sun and Surya. I believe ultimately it becomes cognate with soul, which became the root for many sun-related terms like solar. Since they both contain a dental sibilant, followed by a labial vowel and a lateral approximant. Jai Ma. Om Parvatyai Namaha. Ursula, you're wondering a big question. What's my favorite book of all time? My favorite book of all time. It's got to be Geronimo Stilton. Any of them. Oh yeah. You know what I love about the Geronimo Stilton franchise? Is that there isn't just bold and italic words. Some words look like cheese. Some words look like fire. Some are pink. Some are purple. All the words are so unique and colorful. But seriously, whatever book I'm reading in the moment, I try to make that the most important book to me. Otherwise, when I'm reading a book, at the back of my mind somewhere, I'm thinking, yeah, this is great, but it's not my favorite. I don't want to live like that. I want to live as though everything becomes my favorite, just upon going in contact with it. Some guy you shared the weird fonts and text sizes helped you read before you learned you needed glasses. That's so funny. And Viri, you share that you were already reading so many books, you're so bad at sticking to just one. I understand. That is the nature of Shakti, the feminine force. She wants to explore and expand and hop from one thing to another. You can't hold her down. She is adventurous and wild. You find a cool book and you go, ooh, and never finish the others. Does anything in this life really have an end? Or are we always just starting new beginnings? Sounds like ADHD, you love it, shares Ursula. ADHD is just an active femininity. That's all. Autism is just an active masculinity. Bringing them into balance. Oh. Sure, you might be called neurodivergent, but you must also be a yogi, because you have mastered the principle of lateral thinking and vertical thinking. And you can go from one to the other. And nobody can control it. You are free. Much love. Username 4940274999. You're wondering, what's the best sensitivity for Rainbow Six Siege? Oh, if only my grandfather was still alive to tell you. My grandfather was a big gamer. And when he died, he left me his gaming PC that was so powerful at the time that I still use it today, even though it's like 6 years later or something. 5 years later, I can't remember. Anyway, one of the games that was left on his PC was Rainbow Six Siege. I never played it, but he did. I wonder if he was someone who played with really high sensitivity or really low sensitivity. He was a fisherman and a carpenter. So I imagine that he had a lot of precision with his hands. I would guess he was a high sensitivity player. Fly fishermen too, always creating intricate fishing flies. Thank you for finding something nice in me, Maria. Odd ADHD is just Ardhanarishvara. Exactly. The neurodivergent are yogis. I will go to my grave celebrating the neurodivergent as the spiritual masters of the society. Now, Rhiannon, you're wondering, what are some ways a woman can tap into her masculine to maintain balance? Meditating. Shiva is always seen either in two states, embracing his feminine aspect. And when he's doing that, he's dancing. He's dancing the whole universe into existence. Jumping on one foot, spinning around. That's one side of Shiva. That's the feminine side. But when Shiva is feeling more masculine, he'll sit down, close his eyes, and find a kind of stillness that's stiller than still. A kind of stillness that's dynamic in its silence. These are the two sides of Shiva. Whenever you're wanting to be more feminine, it's very simple. Dance, sing, get up, move about. When you're wanting to be more masculine, just bring yourself to center. And if you want to do both, inwardly be centered, but outwardly be radiant. Thank you, Jade Dog, to infinity, for your 10 tiny tinies. I think the Tiny Dinies are starting a musical band together. Thank you, Yana, for your trio of team bracelets. Om Namah Shakti Shivaya. Evelyn, you are wondering, do I think the moon affects our energies? It affects our Ida Nadi, as we just talked about in the hidden power in humans. That is our feminine aspect. Such is why, the hormonal cycles of the feminine hormones, they have practically the very same periodicity of the lunar cycles, isn't it? 28 days for the moon to go through all the cycles, 28 days for an ovum to be released and the uterine walls to build up and then detach and separate, and this process can be intimately linked with the cycle of the moon. For guys, there is a similar cycle, but we don't realize because it's based on the sun. And the sun, well, you can think of the day as being one cycle related to the sun, but also a year. The reason that the moon only has one cycle associated with it is because it's tidally locked. Always one face facing the earth. But the earth is not only revolving around the sun, it's also rotating. So there's two solar cycles. So guys have hormones that fluctuate over the course of a day, but also over the course of a year. And I don't just mean guys, but anyone with masculine hormones, which includes everyone. So if you want to not be affected by the moon, you can be really in touch with your masculinity. And if you want to not be affected by the sun, you can become really in touch with your femininity. And you live the best side of both worlds. How does that work? Well, whenever there is a rise in the moon's forces on Earth and a decline in the sun's forces, we balance that ourselves by becoming sun-like and by complement moon-like when the sun is predominant and the moon's energies are decreasing. And by complement moon-like when the sun is predominant and the moon's energies are decreasing. And by complement moon-like when the sun is predominant and the moon's energies are decreasing. Now, my internet disconnected me for a moment, but do let me know when it hath returned. I'm back already. Thank you, Michelle. I was thanking Ursula for the tiny diny. Yippee! Hope you got that. The trio of them, in fact. And thank you, Yana, for another heart me and rose too. Hare Krishna. And G to Infinity, did I catch that? You asked if my anxiety was feeling better. The answer was yes. Anyway, I find that my sleep cycle has such an influence on my anxiety. So when I'm sleeping better, during the day I'm feeling much better. It's funny how it works like that, hey? And hello, Anthony. Thank you for stopping in to say hello. And hello, Chloe Evans. I am well. Thank you. Thank you, Jacqueline. And thank you, Vanessa, for your trio of roses. Radhe, Radhe. And thank you, Yana, for the cheer you up also. Josant, you share that you can't believe you thought Hinduism was polytheistic because of school. It is a common misconception. There are indeed many forms of the divine, but it's no different really than the forms of the divine that exists in Christianity, which we know is monotheistic. But in Christianity, we also have different forms of God. We have the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. But of course, they are one with each other. And so we understand it to be a monotheism. But in Hinduism also, there are many forms of the divine. But we also understand that they are one with each other. So it is also a monotheism. However, Hinduism is certainly much more diverse, as it includes many different representations of divinity, which makes it like an emporium for you to select which one speaks to your heart. You got a wide range of options, such as why there is the concept of an Ishta Devata, the personal form of the divine that speaks to you, and you can personalize it, you know? You can customize your own bhakti, your own devotion. And I think that's really cool. It gives rise to a lot of freedom in religious expression, which is nice. But there is an overlap between Christianity and Hinduism. In fact, the Holy Trinity of Christianity also appears in Hinduism. The Sanskrit terms for the Holy Spirit is Brahman, which means the divinity that's omnipresent, but within everything. The Father is the Paramatma, the higher self. And the descension from that, which makes an appearance in the physical world, is known as Bhagwan, the personal form. That would correspond to the sun. There are many other trinities within Hinduism, but I love what Flo adds. Are we one divination of energy / creator experiencing itself through each and every one of our lives? Such a specific question, I take it that you already know the answer to this question. But for posterity, of course. That is the definition of source. Source means that energy from which all of this has become manifested. As such, there is no way to separate the source from any part of existence. Such is why we come to the conclusion of omnipresence. And omnipresence means omnipresence. It means within an ant, in a tree, in a house, in a bird, in the sky, in the earth, in your own human body, in your mother, your father, your son, your daughter, in your cat, in the sun, in the moon. There is not a place in this universe where you won't find the source of all things. Now, Chikune, if I'm pronouncing your name adequately, you ask, you don't think this is fake and only an illusion? That comes from Neo-Advaita, which is a modern reinterpretation of the school of Advaita Vedanta, the non-dual tradition of Eastern philosophy, of the study of the Vedas. In scripture, there is the note that there is something called Maya, and Maya refers to the material energy arising from that source. It's one of the 3 Shaktis of Brahman. Maya Shakti, the Jiva Shakti, and the Yoga Maya Shakti, which refers to the ability to manifest material existence, individual consciousness, and the duality which separates them. In modern times, in Neo-Advaita, we have mistranslated the word Maya to mean illusory reality. Such is why so-called modern gurus claim that this material world is not real. But reality in Vedanta exists on a spectrum. There is such a notion that there is a higher reality called Brahman, and the goal of Vedanta is to realize that you are separate from Maya but one with Brahman. But that's not to say this material existence is something to run away from. Merely, it's something not to indulge in. The real Maya is the indulgences, the material pleasures, and that's the illusion. The illusion is that you have something to gain from this Maya, that you will become happy by achieving lots of wealth, or a big family, or a big house. These kinds of pleasures do not fully satisfy the soul. So we must go in search of something beyond this Maya. But it's still a very real reality. It's just temporary and transient. That's all. I hope that makes sense. And thank you, Yana, for the cheer you up a minute ago. And a hat and mustache. Howdy, partner. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. And Babi Subeka, thank you for a heart me, a team bracelet, a best team, a cheer you up, and a community fest. Om Bhurvasvaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonah Prachodaya. Person ignorant. I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name correctly, but you share you have really bad insomnia. Any suggestions? recently I got a really nice supplement from the store. I think it mixes melatonin, but with other botanicals. It's a really nice herbal remedy that works for me. I wouldn't give up on sleep substance because, humanity has been using various herbs and medicinals to facilitate various aspects of life. There are teas and drinks that you can take that help the sleep process. I'd recommend, if you can, check your levels. Get a blood test and see if you're lacking in any vitamins. It's really important that various levels in our body are set for the ability to have a circadian rhythm. That's at the physical level. And physically, of course, you can also make your room nice and cold. You can make it dark. And you can make your routine such that it facilitates bedtime. If you can, associate your bed with sleep only. If you have a place that you like to watch videos, you're scrolling or eating food, that's great, but have it somewhere else in your house, perhaps. That way, when your body gets in bed, you know that this is a place for sleep, for rest. And of course, think evolutionary. We evolved for about, on average, 12 hours of daylight and 12 hours of relative darkness. So if you can begin shutting the lights off in your house even before you go to bed, that'd be great to help the mind understand it's nighttime. But most importantly, let the mind relax. The mind is ultimately responsible for keeping you awake at night. So do everything that you can do in a day to feel accomplished. And forgive yourself for what you didn't do, and make peace with tomorrow even before it comes. That way, the mind knows that it's time to be vulnerable and shut off, and that its duties are fulfilled. I think all of these things come together for a healthy sleep regimen. And thank you, Humble, for the manifesting. That's very cool. I didn't even know that was a gift. I didn't know that TikTok had spiritual gifts, if you want to call it. Spiritual materialism, of course. Thank you, Yana, for your finger heart, your team bracelet, and Rose too. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Salutations to Ganesha, the remover of obstacles. Heather, you share something very important. You are in love with a man, but you don't know if he feels the same. You feel like the minute you saw him, it was him. Thank you for sharing this, Heather. Sounds like you are in a predicament indeed. Well, all you can do is become good friends. And may your friendship blossom into a kind of love, platonic or not. But we have to be careful not to skip the friend stage. That's super important for long, healthy relationships. If you want to make him the one, you gotta first make a friend in him. You have to prove to each other that in your company you can have fun beyond intimacy. I think that's one of the most important aspects of a healthy relationship is that you're good friends even when nothing intimate is involved. You are best friends. You can have fun with each other in innocent ways. So, it is my blessing that you become very, very good friends with everyone you fall in love with. Thank you, Peter Schaefer, for your rose too. Om Kring Kalikaye Namaha. Thank you, Gabriella, for your heart me. Your half a dozen donuts. I don't know if there's that much room in my tummy. We'll have to share it together. Thank you, Gabriella, for your rose as well. Who wants one? Who wants a donut? Who wants to help me finish these? First 6 people to say yes gets a virtual donut. Thank you, the hearts, for your TGIF too. Om Sum Suryaya Namaha. And thank you, Linda, for your rose. Josan, you share your vegan. Are they vegan donuts? Of course. Of course, they're purely made of electrons. In fact, that's the most vegan food there is. You're off sugar, says Eden. Oh, understandable. Well, hopefully we can get some sugar-free electrons. Forgot about that. Electron donuts. It's funny, electrons are like donuts in some ways. Yeah, their symmetries are toroidal. They have a direction that they spin. They form little energy loops of magnetic current. Oh, Ingrid, you shared that someone broke into your place, and now you're feeling sad and scared. That makes sense. I mean, no one wants to feel like they're not secure in their own place. But I hope to affirm you that the greatest possession you have, they were not able to take, and that's your well-being, your life. You still have the most prized possession. And also, they may have come and taken other possessions, but it'd be really stupid for them to come again. You know? It was stupid to come at all, but it would be even more stupid to go to the same place again. I imagine you're safe from that happening a second time, relatively speaking. But yes, I am sorry to hear that. Your home should be your private space for you to feel vulnerable in, and having this thrown into question is going to bring up some emotions. But it is a reminder of the preciousness of our space and our material belongings. I hope I can hold space for your feelings here. Now, Rhiannon, you're wondering what I think of kombucha. You just bought some. Well, I don't really know much about it. Nutritionally, I know it's pretty good for you. And it's a great alternative to fizzy pop, or gives you similar sensations in the mouth. And I heard that it can be a treatment for heartburn, which is nice. I love to drink acidic drinks like juice. So kombucha is sweet, but also can combat acidic things like acidic symptoms like heartburn. That's pretty much everything I know about kombucha, besides the fact that my mom loves it. And anything my mom loves, I also love. And hello, Nali. And hello, Anizek. And is that backed by statistics, Eden, that someone who breaks into a place usually doesn't go and break into it again? I don't know, to tell you the truth. You'll have to look that up. But it's my uneducated guess that they would have to be really stupid. I heard a story of these robbers who went to the store and asked for all the money. And the shopkeeper said, you picked a bad time. I haven't made that much money today yet. Why don't you come back in a few hours and I'll have more money? And these robbers were so stupid that they actually came back a second time. And in the meantime, the shop owner, they phoned the police and said, hey, these dumb guys, they came in here to rob me. I told them to come back and they agreed. Can you come? Now the cops didn't actually believe them because they didn't believe that these robbers would return to the same place. But the robbers did show up. And the shopkeeper told them, no. I said 6:30, not 5:30. You're too early. Come back in an hour. So the robbers left. And this time when he phoned the police, he got them to come. Because he said they actually came back. The police said, oh my God, the idiots. Okay, we'll come. And sure enough, at 6:30, the police were there and the robbers came and they all got arrested. But I believe that's an exception. That's pretty stupid. And hello, Ladita. What am I? That's a question, isn't it? It reminds me of a question that the Buddha was asked. He was walking down a path one day, and something about his gait, something about his walk, his presence, struck a passerby, and the passerby didn't even ask, who are you? The passerby just asked, what are you? And the Buddha stopped and greeted the man. The man said, are you a man? The Buddha said, no. Are you a woman? The Buddha said, no. Are you a human? The Buddha said, no. Are you an angel? The Buddha said, no. What are you? He was so interested. The Buddha said, I am awake. And he kept walking. He is awake. That's how the Buddha identified. I am awake. Now, thank you, Avillian. I gotta learn how to pronounce your name authentically. But I appreciate the friendship necklace that you sent. Hare Krishna. And Yoginte. Oh, I gotta learn how to pronounce your lovely name too. Thank you for your pair of roses. Radhe Radhe. And Anazek, thank you for your rose. Namo Buddhaya. Manuela, you are very happy. You can see me on YouTube. There, translate what I said. Oh, I'm happy to hear that. Despite a language barrier, we can communicate. Here, I'll tell you 3 words that you might know in English. Manuela, I love you. There. You share it's Evelyn in English. Oh, that makes sense. But if you say it in Dutch, it would literally be Evelyn. Evelyn. Evelyn, is that right? I'm happy to learn. Oh, good. That came through, Manuela. Thank you, King Mikey, for your heart me and your octet of best teams. Radhe, Radhe. Nice to have you here again. Hello. And you think it's so fun that I pronounce your name Yosand. You never know. Yo, Jo, Jo, they're all palatal consonants. But I would like to know how to honor your name. Honor your parents or whomever this name has been given to you from. No, thank you, Mischief, for your balloons too. Om Shri Mahalakshmaya Namaha. And King Mikey, thank you for your flowers. A friendship necklace and a 14 set of roses. Om Namah Shakti Shivaya. And thank you, No Vanity, for your Heart Me and Quintet of Community Fests too. Om Brahm Bhairavaya Namo Namaha. Yes, I imagine I do seem a bit different from the regular people of society. Suppose that's why they call people like me neurodivergent. We are diverting from what is typical. We are esoteric, non-traditional, or in some sense, traditional of the ancient ways. Thank you, Rak, for your music play too. Radhe Radhe. And King Mikey, thank you for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sets, 6 sets, 7 sets of 7 roses each. You have made a virtual square of them, 7 by 7. Thank you. Om Namah Shivaya. I love your question, Athena. Can there be light without darkness? Can we appreciate light without darkness? I love your questions, Athena. What is darkness? At night, when we look up into the sky and we see a dark expanse, what we are looking at? Well, we aren't. We are looking at the absence of something to look at, aren't we? In some sense, we are merely peering through space. So darkness is merely a quality of space, relative to that which can fill space, we call light. So in that sense, there absolutely cannot physically exist light without space, you know? Darkness is the very medium through which light propagates. And in another sense, darkness inspires light. Just as silence may inspire music, or stillness may inspire dance. It is the reference point to which an expression takes place. Can we appreciate light without darkness? Even in times where we experience light, behind it is that spaciousness. We cannot have light without darkness. And applying this metaphor to life also, it is the absence of goodness that inspires the goodness in our life. It is from all of our mistakes that we have the capacity to grow. It is because of the sadness that we spring forth in search of peace. From suffering, great joys come to fruition. We wouldn't understand the true meaning of it unless we had something to compare it to. As this world exists in a state of relativity, our feelings and experiences do also. Thank you, King Mikey. for your very generous gifts. You've also sent a trio of friendship necklaces and a trio of team bracelets. And I think I've made an actual knot this time. I'm always playing around with these things. Now, Ladita, you're wondering what my viewpoint is on marriage. Well, I believe that it's deeply spiritual, as it symbolizes the coming together of two great forces, expansion and contraction, of Shakti and Shaktiman, of Prakriti and Purusha. There's a duality of beings coming together. And it doesn't have to be in the traditional way, because we can find that duality existing between any two beings that complement each other in such a way. Marriage is a sacred bond, and it may help the ability for us to hold such a relationship that gives rise to a new life in this world, such as a child, but it can also take place in other ways. But this sacred union can also happen completely on the inside, spiritually. We can bring together two forces of life entirely within one person. And we call these beings monks, because they do not seek to find unity in another. They seek to find it within themselves. And I think this is a lesser known way of life, but in ancient times it was the way of the renunciant, who went away from worldly things and found the divine within. This is not the Dharma for most people. Maybe one in a million. But there are many ways of achieving that union. Thank you, Alessandra, for your rose as well. And JV, thank you for your finger heart a few minutes ago. There's a finger heart for you. Hare Krishna. Nella, you ask, what is the most important lesson I've learned so far? Oh, the one I have yet to learn. Every lesson becomes the most important. But one of the bigger ones that really changed the way I look at life is that there are no accidents. There is suffering. But even suffering is a fertile soil for spiritual development. Even when we are in pain, a kind of growth is possible, a kind of healing is achievable. And I want to be very careful with my words, because I don't wish to validate the suffering that anyone goes through, nor imply that you should ever stay in a suffering, in an abusive state. But that when you are in such a place, the ability to continue on your path to peace is only as impeded as you let the world take that power from you. We can reclaim the ability to be joyful no matter what. We can see every challenge as an opportunity. When someone's pushing your buttons, this is a great time to exercise more patience. When someone is praising you, this is a great time to exercise humility. When someone is criticizing you, this is a great time to exercise accountability. There's a virtue that we can continue developing in any challenging situation. With this perspective, there is only spiritual progress. You can never fall down. Now, of course, our body may... I be tripping all the time, let me tell you. Mentally as well. But on a subtler level, we can continue lifting ourselves up more and more, especially in difficult circumstances. And that was a big lesson for me. And it's kind of a meta lesson, because the lesson is that everything is a lesson. That there are no wasted experiences. Every experience can be used to cultivate something. Not without pain, of course. Now, I'm a little back on my questions. I'm a little behind, so I'll try to be more concise with my answers. And people have sent gifts that I need to honor as well. Like Yaso con queso. Thank you for your heart me. Hariom Tatsat. And Alessandra. Thank you, Mercedes, for your rose. Hare Krishna. Humble. Thank you for your auspicious number of 108 roses. Om Dum Durgaye Namaha. And King Mikey, thank you for your trio of best teams. Your 121 roses, a hat and mustache, yeehaw, and a quartet of 7 roses each. Thank you for that, Mikey. Thank you for your trio of tiny dinies. Yippee! And for your trio of let 'em cooks and a finger heart. Hari Om Tat Sat. And Starlight Wild, thank you for your trio of tiny dinies. No la shameless. You ask if I'm familiar with Neem Karoli Baba. Of course, we have to know. The Guru of Ramdas, a great Western mystic. The Blanket Baba. Thank you, Yana, for your community fest, your ice cream cone and finger heart. I'd like to give you a finger heart too. Om Kring Kalikai Namaha. And Betty Elf, thank you for your heart me too. Om Namah Shivaya. Good night, Eveline. I hope I'm pronouncing that better. Ladita, you're wondering, what's the difference between a spiritual illness and a mental illness? That's a very interesting question. I would say that there is more similar than there is different. There are different hierarchies of our being. We have the world, which is the outermost reality, and there's illnesses in the world such as greed and consumerism. Illnesses of the body, such as a cold or COVID. There are illnesses of even our senses, like our ability to perceive things adequately or not. There are illnesses of the mind, like, depression, anxiety. There are illnesses of our intellect, our ability to make decisions. There's illnesses of one's sense of self, such as personality disorders. But the highest level, the spirit itself, it cannot be affected by any of these illnesses. Actually, our highest being is the healthiest thing there can be, because it can never get sick. The pure, undivided awareness, consciousness, Satchitanandam, in that sense, there's no spiritual illness, literally. But because everything is pervaded in that spirit, you could say that everything is a spiritual illness. And by that I mean there is a spiritual solution to many of these things. And perhaps the closer you get to spirit in that hierarchy, the closer we could call something a spiritual illness. That the mind is closer to spirit than the body, and the ego even closer than the mind. But because it all stems from the ahankara, the ego, it is from there that we can cure all illnesses. Ahankara means the ego. Literally means the aham, the I, kara, maker, the maker of the I. that sense of me, myself, and mine. And it's defined by where we put our sense of self. Our self is our awareness. So where we give our awareness, on what paths doth our awareness flow? These form our associations that construct our identity. When we give our awareness disparagingly, when we give it exclusively, then we ultimately become ill in some way, because our sense of self has become divided. We've put it so much in one aspect that we are not accommodating a whole dimension of our existence. So we can remedy a lot of the illnesses we experience just through becoming more mindful, becoming more aware of every part of our experience. But that's not to say you'll be perfectly situated in a body that never gets sick again like this. For even enlightened beings had sickness. Everyone experiences old age, sickness, and death. As the Buddha said, and the Buddha got sick. The Buddha, in fact, is said that he died after eating something that his body did not like. Some tainted pork that was given as alms food, and he ended up having intestinal problems, and he passed away several weeks later. And that's no fault of his own. It's just the nature of material existence. There is always some aspect which is in need of help. There is something that we can bring our attention more to. There is an infinitude of realms which continue to deepen our awareful immersion in this life. And as such, there's no end to the absences either. Did I hear that it was Shakira's birthday? My goodness, well, happy birthday, dear Shakira. I'm very grateful that I get to experience a piece of your birthday. It's such a special day for you, and the fact that you share it on a nobody's live like me. I'm honored to have such an important day expressed to me, with me. I'm honored to be a part of your birthday in a small capacity, so thank you. That's very touching. And I'd love to reflect on how much you've learned in this year, how much you've grown, all the experiences you've had, and how much you've processed in this time. Congratulations on completing another trip around our sun. You are older and wiser, and it is my wish that you have many, many more in good health and spirit. And on this day, on your birthday, you have given me a heart me. Oh, I should be giving you this heart me, Shakira. But thank you. That's very kind of you. Radhe Radhe. Thank you, Marcy, for your rose too. Om Dum Durgaye Namaha. Thank you, Anazek, for your ice cream cone and pair of roses. Hare Krishna. And John F., thank you for your heart me, your friendship necklace, your finger heart, and your tiny. Yippee! Adita, you were wondering if I can give an example of a spiritual illness which is not a mental one. Well, it's difficult because any spiritual illness is also going to manifest on other levels of our experience too, because they're also connected. But a very simple one is ignorance. You can have a healthy mind, but your own awareness is not going to something that you need to go to. And we might be stretching the definition of illness here. But if we mean there is some way of being which has been impeded, that we can heal from, that we can grow from, then ignorance, I think, does fit the description of this. Kusang as well is a Sanskrit term which means bad association. That you have a healthy, happy mind, healthy, happy body, but you're engaging in kusang. You're associating with people that are not going to bring you peace. There are bad influences on your life. You could say that's more of a spiritual illness or defect. But to tell you the truth, I don't think like this. I'm exploring this concept with you because you have asked about a spiritual illness. But this is a way of thinking which turns it into a defect, a negative. And in my experience, the best way to think about spiritual things is all in terms of the positive. Not about what you don't want to do, but what you do want to do. Not about how you shouldn't be, but how you should be. Not about how you are ill, but how you can heal. And so instead of talking about ignorance or kusang, I would instead talk about the spiritual remedies, all about awareness and positive association. Why is it important for me to make this distinction? Well, if we're constantly thinking in terms of the negative, then that's all we're going to find. If we're just looking for what's wrong, then there's no shortage of wronghood. But if we can bring our mind towards the positive, if we can look for all the ways in which we are doing something right, we can be more present and affirmed in our well-being, and our mind will eventually also start cultivating a healthy, happy, positive mindset. It all starts with satsang, the complement of kusang, the right associations. Thank you, dear Yenna, for your finger heart too. Radhe, Radhe. You're so funny, Marcy. I did move my foot to my yellow circle that I'm sitting on. Good use of emojis. Thank you, Freya. Now, Eden, you shared that you remember that music and song was kind of overstimulating for me. Do I still find it overstimulating? Yes. That's been like that my whole life. Even in the womb, my mother used to play country music for me in the womb. And she'd feel me squirming all inside. And she thought, oh my goodness, my baby's dancing, right? My baby's dancing, he loves music. And so, by the time I was born, she was so excited that she got to share this music with me, get to hear it with my ears directly. And so, when she turned on country music for me, she'd expect me to start dancing. But instead, I threw a tantrum and I started going, wah! Wah! Turn it off! See, I actually hated it. I wasn't dancing, I was kicking and punching. Turn it off! And when we would go on road trips, I'd always ask my parents to turn off the radio. I just want to listen to silence. And it's been that way my whole life. I'm one of the weirdest people in the world. I think it's called musical anhedonia, which means that I actually prefer silence in 99% of circumstances. If I'm driving, if I'm walking, if I'm showering, if I'm studying, if I'm playing a game or working out. just prefer hearing what's already in the soundscape. And I imagine this is probably very weird for most people to hear, because music is such a big part of our culture, and I totally understand that. That makes sense to me. I recognize the beauty in music, absolutely. There's such a mathematics to music theory, and a diversity in it, and I absolutely have to honor the fact that so many people find such wonderful expression, and they're able to process their feelings, and I witness secondhand how much change it does for the world, and I think that's wonderful. So I'm pro music. I love music, theoretically. Nothing bad to say about it. But I'm a sucker for silence, I guess. I'm a sucker for the sounds of the leaves on the trees, whistling in the breeze. I love the sound of just tires on the pavement, rolling across asphalt. I love the birds. I love animals. I like hearing people talk, and the bustle of vehicles and the cityscape, waves crashing. I think that's music to my ears. And I'm weird for that. I know. However, I said 99%. There are circumstances where I do like music. Like when I'm in a social gathering, I prefer having something in the background, like when I'm here with all of you. Background music, I think it helps create an atmosphere. And I like making music from time to time, which is funny. I might not listen to it, but I like making it. Gardening Grey Gargi. You share, this constitutes a great reference frame for the question, what exactly is music? I love that. I think it's very similar to asking, what is art? What is dance? Some people have very conservative definitions, that it requires lots of training and talent, and there are traditional objective measures. But what about abstract art? What about AI art? Similarly, what about interpretive dance? What about a fire? Could you say that the tendrils of a flame are dancing? Similarly, what about the rhythm of certain birds chirping? Is that music? Or what about even a child just playing around on a guitar randomly, plucking strings? Is that music? I think music is one of those things that if you try to define it, someone's going to make art out of defying your expectations, defying your definition. And that's the essence of an expression of love. Love means that which transcends boundaries. And music, like art, like dance, they're all forms of love which transcend boundaries. Now, thank you, Edmo, for the heart me you sent a minute ago. Radhe, Radhe. And Babblefishy, thank you for the cheer you up. Thank you for the trio of team bracelets, too. Om Namah Shivaya. And Hybrid Jen, thank you for the community fest. Radhe, Radhe. John F., you share, you're listening to storm music right now. Given my lack of musical knowledge, that could very well be a very specific genre. You'll have to tell me. Otherwise, I'm just going to assume that you mean thunder and lightning and wind or rain as well. which definitely is music to my ears. And thank you, Brave Bella, for your trio of roses. You shared that you were listening to an actual storm there in Florida. Well, I hope that it is relaxing to you and that you are indoors and safe and sound. Melissa, you were wondering, how can you know if the soul of your loved one has reincarnated or is still near you? Excellent question. We can consider it more of a gradient. In cosmetic terms, you might have an article of clothing that's a gradient. It's a smooth transition from blue to green, or like a sunset. You might get nail polish that's pearlescent. You might get hair that transitions through all the colors. This is a spectrum, a continuum. I think also in the nature of birth and death, there are lots of gradients of life. A slow becoming into another form, just as we slowly learn to adapt to the change of their physical presence no longer being with us. Consider the process of birth. From the moment of conception all the way to birth, is there really a moment where you can definitely say, they've become a fully fledged human being? When we try to wrap our mind around the world in terms of this black and white thinking, it gets really subjective. And we come up against hard boundaries, and people put these boundaries in different places. And although it's more difficult for our very black and white mind to consider, the real world is all about spectrums and continuums and transformations that take time and don't happen in an instant. So in the same way, we feel our loved one with us, and as we grow up, we begin to feel them almost say goodbye, like, I'm so happy that I got to be in your heart for this interim, and they begin to change into another form. A new chapter in our life, and our grieving also takes place. But at the same time, they leave behind an essence of themselves with us, and that's not something that ever goes away. Just like we grow as people. The person that you were 10 years ago might be irrecognizable to the person you are today or in another 10 years. In the same way, we leave behind beautiful chapters in our life. And so too, when someone is coming into another form, another expression, they may leave with us some of their personality, some of their aspects of being. So to vaguely answer your question, an aspect of them always stays with you, but also there is a smooth transition into another life. Thank you, dear Isabella, for your trio of roses. And Melissa, thank you for your 7 roses too. Trisha, you share that you like to think we leave an imprint, and absolutely we do. In Sanskrit, that imprint is called a samskar. It literally means an imprint in the field of consciousness. Consciousness, the theory of consciousness in Eastern spirituality, is actually has a lot of parallels with the Western scientific understanding of gravity, of space and time. As Einstein said, that we can understand a significant portion of this experience we call life in terms of a medium we call space-time, and everything that exists in it exists as an impression in that. And these impressions, they're no mere subtle phenomena. I mean, they can be subtle, but I mean, hey, it is the imprint in the space-time upon which our entire solar system revolves around the sun. And our entire solar system revolves around our galaxy itself. And just recently we've been detecting gravitational waves with the advent of laser interferometer gravitational wave observatories, LIGOs, and the like. Similarly, consciousness can have impressions made in it, and it too is also all-pervading. These impressions left in consciousness, they can persist even after the form which made them has changed or gone entirely. And it is from these impressions left in the field of consciousness that life forms arise around them, that bodies are built. This is the theory of reincarnation from the level of samskars. Thank you, dear Melissa. Thank you, Betty Elf, for your dancing beaver and sunglasses. It's very fun. Om Shri Mahalakshmaya Namaha. King Mikey, you're wondering, am I still really into mathematics? Of course. Absolutely. Yeah. It's become more of a personal thing for me, however. I'm considering making a follow-up to my research paper, Arithmetic Digit Manipulation in the Conway Base 13 Function, that was published in an undergraduate academic journal. I've discovered new things about digit expansions and how we can predict even infinite expansions, which are rational, so I can expand my domain of the Conway Base 13 function into the rationals. Before it was just basically a modified set of the integers. This is going to sound like Greek to most people. But there is a lot of Greek involved. Mathematicians love their Greek letters like pi. But I have not made math content in a while, and I haven't seen the need for it, really. Right now, I want my platform to be of the highest purpose, which is to bring my experiences of suffering and peace to people's minds and consciousness. And why is this more important to me on the internet for my presence than mathematics? Well, because mathematics never brought me peace. It was a great hobby for me, an enjoyment and a passion, but I could tell you all about higher dimensions and equations, but I couldn't apply them to my anxiety. You know, it's not like thinking about Graham's number or the cardinality of infinities was going to take me down from an existential crisis. If anything, they would just exacerbate the crisis. So, at a practical level, I've learned to express myself on the internet more in terms of day-to-day experiences, and I leave mathematics to my personal life at the moment. Hope that makes sense. Now, Sensei Lu, you were wondering, what is God, and why do we need to personalize the source? It's a good question. You've indirectly answered the question because you've called God the source. I think this is a good definition. Whatever is the source of all things, we can call God. However, although we might use the word God in this context, we have to remember that other people may not use the word God this way. They might use it in terms of something personal to them. And that leads into the second question you asked. Because there are different understandings of the source, because there are different people. And as people, we have personal experiences. Personal experiences means unique to us. So because of our uniqueness, we all qualify that source in a way which makes sense to the unique expression that we embody in this life. More philosophically speaking, if we want to get in touch with the source of existence, we require some stepping stones to get there. We can't go directly from our human understanding to the source of all things. So intermediaries like Bhagwan, which means a personal form of the divine, are necessary stepping stones. There is a very precise logic that goes from source to a personal form. It relates to the Trinity we talked about an hour ago, of a Holy Spirit, Father and Son. We'll use the technical Sanskrit terms. Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagwan. These are the three traditional forms of God in Sanskrit. The first way of understanding God is Brahman, and it's the way that I think we all can relate to. That whatever the source of all things is, it is transcendent from this moment in the way that it begun long time ago. If there was a time in which all of this arose from that source, if there was a time where all was one, undivided, and there was no world of forms, it's no longer in this slice of time, from one perspective. It's transcendent. We talk about the source as being long ago. But we can bridge that gap by understanding the immanent aspect of the source also. Because everything has, in a sense, arisen from that source, then that source is one with everything still to this day. Just like, in some sense, we are one with our parents. Everything that has arisen from that singularity is a part of that source, or at least once was. So that which has the capacity to produce this existence, we could say existence is contained within it. Omnipresence is this aspect, that the source is within all things, that the potential for things to arise is not locked away in time, it's there pervading all of space and time. That is called Brahman, from the root word br, which means to expand. Brahman means the all-expansive one, the expanse that sits as the firmament itself, the foundation of existence, the very stage upon which life takes place. That is Brahman, and that is the first understanding of God. This leads to two other corollaries or consequential understandings of God. Because that source is immanent within all things, that includes you and I. That includes all life forms. So that part of that source which we contain, that's known as Paramatma, from the prefix param, meaning highest, and atma, meaning self. We have a limited notion of self, our ego, our humanity, but we also exhibit a slice of that source. So we have a higher self, a Paramatma within us. So these are two distinct understandings of God. And this is why I don't usually use the English word God, because English doesn't differentiate between these precise understandings. From Brahman arises Paramatma. That which is omnipresent must be present within every being, and so every being has a part of Brahman, therefore they have a higher self. That which is, one with that ultimate source. Most of us do not live acting on behalf of that source. We live in service to our lower identity, to our earthly form, to our body, to our mind, to our ego, to our occupation, to our status in society. And there's nothing wrong with that. It just means that we don't get to experience that divinity within others. Finally, when we do get to express that divinity, when someone has purified their sense of self enough to fully embody being an avatara, a descension of that Brahman, through many lifetimes, they purify their own jiva, their individual sense of self, and the Paramatma, the higher self, shines through, then we say that that being is Bhagwan, that they are a personal form of God. And such is why there have been humans that have walked the earth that have also been called God. We know many examples of this, like Jesus here in the West, but also Krishna, Shiva, Rama in the East. They all are avataras, descensions of the Holy Spirit, the Brahman, that have come because they've put their ego aside through an intense spiritual process, and talking to them is like talking to God. Why? Because that omnipresent reality is now fully expressed through this form. They've set their lower self aside. You can only see the Brahman, the source, through them. To circle back to the question which inspired this, that personal form is necessary because it's our ultimate purpose to embody that ourselves. Since we have all come from the source, we are all expressions of the source, ultimately we too become representatives for that. And practically that means that we also become personal forms of divinity. We technically make our body and mind into Brahma Rupa, the form of the divine, through which that essence can become expressed in love, in peace, in compassion, in serving all of creation equally, taking care of the plants and animals, and bringing out the greatest potential and expression of that inner source. All right, that was a bit of a long-winded answer, but I think we got there in the end. Thank you, John F., for the flowers you sent several minutes by now. Hari Om Tat Sat. And Saturnus, thank you for your heart meat, your 37 team bracelets, and your pair of cherry-ups. Om Dum Durgaye Namaha. And Anazek, thank you for your pair of community vests. Jai Sitaram. And thank you, Brihef, for your heart meat. Oh, and your pair of roses, Anazek, thank you. But thank you, Brihef, for your heart meat too. Om Sum Saryaya Namaha. Hari, hello, Radhe. You're wondering, who can you all call Guru? Well, you are free to decide that yourself. I can't tell you who is or isn't your spiritual master. But Guru means, from the root, Gu, which means ignorance, and Ru, meaning dissolver of. The Guru is that whom dissolves your ignorance. We all have someone in our life, or maybe even multiple people, that helps open our mind, gives rise to awareness. And in some ways, they can be like a guru to you. Your friend can be a guru. But if you're looking for someone who fully embodies this as their lifelong dedication, then we can look for certain qualities in them. For example, do they seem to be biased? I know I am, so I can't claim to be a guru. Do they still have selfish desires? I know I absolutely do. So I cannot be qualified in that sense. Do they have knowledge of scripture? I don't either. But most importantly, in their presence, are you becoming more peaceful? Do you find yourself more understanding, more compassionate? What is the goal? The goal is to dissolve ignorance, and ignorances include prejudices and envy. It includes a dispassion towards other life forms. It includes maybe anxiety and depression. When these kinds of things are being alleviated, then clearly, by definition, you are in the presence of a guru, someone or something that is dissolving the goo. And you're free to go guru shopping. That is, learn from many teachers and then introspect. See, where am I getting the most learning? Where do I feel like I'm improving the most? And do be careful not to confuse learning with validation. Many traditional gurus are not here to validate you. They're not here to make you feel good necessarily. Ultimately, they bring you into a kind of ultimate goodness, infinite bliss. But they might chisel away at your ego very directly, and you could actually dislike the person who's teaching you. And also in that way, I'm not very traditional, since I don't have the qualifications to judge anyone's ego, to make such critical assessments. I'm only here as an emotional support, someone who is a fellow student on the path. I keep looking over at this cute little bunny that's in the yard. Sometimes I feel like I live in a magical forest, because we have the most magical animals. I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but there is a bunny. Oh, the lens flare is gonna really wash the bunny out. But to the right of the ladder, around there, you're...
Collapsed. USB debugging connected. Tap to turn off USB debugging.
Oh, I turned on...
Double tap to activate. Double tap and hold to long press. Actions available.
Oh no.
Swipe up or swipe down and double tap to activate.
I turned on
Sound
accessibility settings on my phone.
To change the accessibility volume, hold one finger on the screen. Screen off. Ringer silent. Expand. Activate.
I don't know how to
Double
turn
tap
this
to perform
off.
the action.
I've turned it into a
Pin
blind
area.
mode.
Selected. Pin area. 2 characters. 3, 5, 6, 9.
Well, now you know my
Double tap to
password.
activate. Enter. Button. Pin
3569 is my
Device
phone
locked.
pin.
Device unlocked. Home. Button. Activate. Toggle overview.
I have no idea how to turn this off.
Activate. Toggle over. Activate. Toggle. Pixel launcher. Home. But. Home. Toggle overview. Settings developer off. Turn off talkback. Button. Talkback off.
There we go. Okay, I figured it out. Anyway, the bunny is still back there. Very small, by the bush line. Man, this is what, that's what the visual impaired have to deal with. Boy, I hope they get a better voice in the future. If I was visual impaired, I would like a more confirming voice. Well, thank you for your patience. That was funny. That's true. I imagine they can change the voices. Now, thank you, Humble, for your heart me and paper crane. Om Kring Kalikai Namaha. And Vanessa, thank you for your tiny. Yippee! Oh, it'd be great if they got David Attenborough to do it. That'd be wonderful. Sensei, you ask, is mathematics discovered? It definitely feels that way. And this is speaking from my experience. That I felt like there was a creative process as well as the discovery process. And I would really love to show you all what it's like to do mathematics, because they don't actually teach you. They teach you how to be a calculator, which is an aspect of mathematics. They teach you how to compute, how to use all of the theorems. However, a mathematician is not going around calculating things. That'd be a very boring job, as you can imagine. A mathematician is discovering theorems. They're discovering new facts about geometry, and the really applicable ones, well, they make their way into education. And you don't learn about how they discovered them, but you do learn how to use them to solve problems. But the kind of problems that mathematicians are solving aren't number problems. They might never even experience a number in their whole day of exploration. It's all about playing around with equations and seeing what kind of insight you can gain about the mathematical universe. What's possible. And there's a creative aspect too. The creative aspect is different ways of trying to discover something, that you invent the techniques to get there, but ultimately what you arrive at feels like something that has always existed. Like people wanted to know what the ratio of a circle's circumference to its diameter is, and now we know many digits, but we didn't always. And so this was a theoretical problem, is how do we discover what the exact digits are? You know, they didn't invent the fact that it's 3.14159, etc. They discovered it, but they invented the ways to get there. All the different equations in which you could extract this beautiful transcendental number pi. So that's how I would describe the relationship between discovery and invention in mathematics. We invent the ways to get there, and with that all of the symbols that we use and the rules that we go by, but we discover what we can do with them. So it's absolutely a bit of both. Khan Academy, oh, that's funny, Marcy. You know, Khan Academy was where I learned a lot of my early math education. By myself, outside of class, I would learn calculus there. I love Khan Academy. It's also where I learned to program, and it's free as well. I recommend it to anyone who's interested in pursuing academic knowledge bases. Free website for free education. It's wonderful. Thank you, Vanessa, for your tiny. Yippee! Now, we have reached the 2-hour mark, which is about when I like to begin to wrap things up. Just letting you all know. Hybrid Jen, you share, you're looking at herb and you ain't touching it. You're gonna be strong. You're gonna try like you quit liquor. Sounds like you are going on a journey to discover what's possible without external support. And that is very difficult. Such is why I've asked this question today for all of you. What can we do instead when our mind has a desire for something that we know is unhealthy? Or to put it in the positive, what can we do instead when we know there is a healthier alternative? But how can we remedy the desire for the contrary? Shakira, you share, you usually try to go to sleep. It's actually a really good technique. Yeah. Hand fingers, you share, we can look the other way. Very true. Jenny, you share, we can read a book, go for a nature walk, put on music. I love all those things. Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful, Manuela. You think if we are all in love, we can leave in peace and love. So sweet. It's all Legos. You share 1. We can think about something else. 2. Replace it with an alternative. And 3. Educate ourselves on the negative side effects, the aspects of the addiction. Definitely. Billy, you share distraction works well. Underrated. Hybrid Jen, you share, you might try some breathing exercises that lightens your head. I love that. Thank you, by the way, for your community fest and your disco love. Om Namah Shivaya. And Renvox, thank you for the popcorn. Om Kring Kalikaye Namaha. Laura, you say, as you're lighting another cigarette, no judgment here. I don't believe that judgment is an effective technique. Addictions require love and compassion and understanding. Don't worry. Oh, thank you, Mary Voss. That's beautifully said. And thank you, Lori, for your tiny, yippee, and your dozen roses. Radhe, Radhe. Babel Fishy, you try to meditate on it. That's very good. And thank you, Marina, for your 7 roses, too. Hari Om Tat Sat. Marcy, you share that you can use that deprivation of dopamine as reward. It has a name. I don't know if this name is PG, Marcy. Thank you, Kristen, for your pair of roses. Radhe, Radhe. And Babel Fishy, thank you for your best team. Om Namah Shakti Shivaya. Matthew, you share an answer to the question of the day. Go to the gym. Harness that focus on the addiction and turn it into something positive. I love that. There is a focus there. There is a one-pointedness that we can surrender to something else. It's all Legos, you share. Love the self first. And simply observe and be with the craving deeply and recognize what it feels like without words. Yeah. Marcy, you share prolonged gratification. Gratification deprivation is what you're calling it. Yeah. Yeah. That's a good way of putting it. Ilosa, thank you for your trio of tiny tinies too. Billy, you share help someone who's suffering. That's such a beautiful one. Yeah. Oh, to get yourself engaged in something really meaningful like that. Feeling needed in another way. It's very, very powerful technique. I agree. You are also going to try the Yam YouTube video on anxiety for relaxing. Hybrid Jen. Well, I did make one for you on the ASMR channel, talking you down from a panic attack. I really hope it's helpful. Saturnus, you always tell yourself, never sacrifice what you want most for what you want in the moment. Wow, that's powerful. Thank you for sharing that, Saturnus. Very, you are going to plant yams in Stardew. Aw. Well, I look forward to my harvest. Stardew is a great game. Billy, you share, figure out your values and stay in line with them. Simply put, but very beautiful. Hybrid Jen, you just had looks like a salad emoji. You knew your body needed the good greens, not the smoke. That's so funny. Anna, you share the Maha Mantra. Yes, that's very good. That helped me with my addiction going off of vaping. Thank you, Kristen, for your beautiful flowers and hand hearts. Just a minute ago you sent thank you. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. And Kati, thank you for your 7 tiny tinies. Yippee! And John F, thank you for the paper crane. Om Shri Mahalakshmaya Namaha. These are wonderful answers, everyone, and you are all so right. I'm very grateful to be in the presence of so many wise souls. And I'm deeply impressed in the ability for you all to have such unique answers corresponding to the uniqueness of every one of you. And that's absolutely meant to be. So thank you for that. Now I'd like to end this live with a short reading. Today we're reading another section from The Hidden Power in Humans by Paramahansa Swami Maheshwarananda. Saturnus, you share, also the pain of discipline is far less than the pain of regret. It's true. It's a good point. I like that. And good night, dear Priscilla. Love you too. So where did we leave off? We left off talking about the Nadis, the rivers upon which our own consciousness flows within and outside the body. There are 3 main ones. The Ida Nadi, Pingala Nadi, referring to the moon and the sun, corresponding to the sympathetic and the parasympathetic and the sympathetic nervous system. And there's the spinal column itself, which is the Sushumna Nadi, which was likened to the Saraswati River, the mythical river in India, which converges every 12 years at the Ganga and Yamuna, and with it we bathe to liberate ourselves from the cycle of birth and death. But the spiritual pilgrimage takes us right here at the Agna Chakra, the third eye between the two brows, where our Pingala, Ida, and Sushumna Nadi converge. That place is known as a chakra. And finally, we have made the foundation all the way from the beginning of the universe and the creation of the elements and the life forms from the beginning of time. We've laid the foundation to finally discover the nature of chakras in the philosophy of yoga. This prehistoric, ancient, many thousand-year-old practice. All right. Without further ado, chakras, the energy centers. Cosmic energy is constantly flowing around us, into us, and through us. But with our normal everyday consciousness, we do not notice the stream of energy. Therefore, we are unable to either utilize it or store it. As previously explained, the main nadis, Ida, Pingala, run along the spinal column in a curved path and cross one another several times. At the points of intersection, they come into contact with the divine energy of the Sushumna Nadi, forming strong energy centers known as chakras. Chakra literally means wheel or turning, and it is believed to be where we get the English word cycle from the ancient Greek chiklos. And although this blows my mind, I don't know how, in Proto-Indo-European it's also where we get the word wheel. But how you get wheel and cycle from the same root, I don't know. Nonetheless, a chakra operates like a powerhouse in the way it generates and stores energy, with energy from the cosmos pulled in more strongly at these points. The drain of a bathtub can be used to illustrate how the chakras work. When the plug is removed from a bathtub full of water, the water is sucked into the drain pipe, and the rotating water forms a vortex. When the plug is removed from a bathtub full of water, the water is sucked into the drain pipe, and the rotating water forms a vortex. Yes, I just read that twice, and no, I didn't mean to. This is how a chakra functions, in the same way as water being sucked into a drain. How come my mind keeps getting drawn to that? There must be a chakra here, the whirlpool of energy on this point. In the same way as water being sucked into a drain pipe forms a whirlpool, cosmic energy is drawn into the chakras in a circular motion and guided toward the next point of intersection. That's why. There were indeed two sentences that just started the same way. Speaking of cycles, moving on. This cosmic radiation influences and guides our feelings, thoughts, and qualities according to our spiritual and karmic susceptibility. In the human body, there are 3 types of energy centers. The lower, or animal chakras, known as the Pashu chakras, and they are located in the region between the toes and the pelvic region, indicating our evolutionary origins in the animal kingdom. The human chakras, known as the Vira chakras, lie along the spinal column. Finally, the higher or divine chakras, known as the Daivika chakras, are found between the top of the spine and the crown of the head. The goal of meditation and Kriya practice is the awakening of these chakras. Yoga Kriyas are spiritual practices that are only ever transmitted personally by the master. There are 8, count them, 8 main chakras. The Muladhara chakra, that's the root chakra. The Svadhisthana chakra, which is the sacral chakra. The Manipura chakra, the solar plexus chakra. The Anahata chakra, the heart chakra. The Vishuddhi chakra, the throat chakra. The Agya chakra, which is the eyebrow center, or the third eye chakra. And this is the one that many sources miss. The Bindu chakra, which is up here, which is the moon chakra, the moon center. And finally, the Sahasrara chakra, which is the crown chakra, the door of liberation. Each of these chakras is connected to certain qualities. Everyone experiences different feelings in the chakras and has completely individual impressions and images in meditation. For example, one person has most of their experiences in the Manipura chakra, while another person meditates best on the Anahata chakra, and another feels the Agya chakra more strongly. The chakras work on several levels and aspects of our existence. Important glands and nerve nodes are located within the area of the main chakras as we open and harmonize the chakras with breathing exercises, meditations, asanas, and the repetition of mantra. We also influence and balance the physical functions associated with them. The first 5 chakras are connected with the 5 elements from which the body is assembled. The Muladhara chakra, which is our root, is of course associated with the earth. But then, the Svadhisthana chakra, the sacral chakra, is associated with water, the fluid of life. The Manipura chakra, the solar plexus chakra, is associated with fire. The Anahata chakra, the heart chakra, is associated with air. And music, of course, and sound. Literally, Anahata means a sound which is produced without 2 things coming together. So sound and air are deeply related to this chakra. And the Vishuddhi chakra, the throat chakra, is associated with space. The earth element forms the bones, the water element bodily fluids such as blood and lymph. The air element regulates the respiratory system, the fire element creates the digestion and the body warmth, and the space element creates the cavities within the body. The second level of influence of the chakras is the mental sphere. Chakras are astral or subtle energy centers through which energy can be received but can also be lost. With unhealthy nourishment, incorrect practices, bad company, and negative thinking, the direction of the rotation of the chakras can change, and in this way we lose energy, which can result in illness and psychic disturbances. With some practice, you can learn to feel with your hand whether the chakras are turning in the right direction, namely, to the right. If you are unable to feel this, you can practice the following exercise once a month. Place the right hand about 1 centimeter above the point where a chakra is located. Feel this, you can practice the following exercise once a month. Place the right hand about 1 centimeter above the point where a chakra is located. Through this practice, you can be sure that the chakras always turn in the right direction. The third area of influence of the chakras is spiritual. At the spiritual level, we attain wisdom and self-knowledge. The Muladhara chakra, Manipura chakra, and Vishuddhi chakra are the key stations in which spiritual awakenings begin. But this can occur in any chakra. The divine self can manifest in any chakra that is open and purified. Purification of the nadis and chakras means to develop their sensitivity and ability to absorb. That is why we gradually become more sensitive through the regular practice of yoga. At the beginning, certain emotions can also become stronger, depending upon our predisposition. But all of these phenomena are only temporary and disappear when the wisdom of the Kundalini awakens. Because when the light shines, the curtain of darkness immediately disappears. Through yoga practices such as pranayama, for example, the function of all nadis is strengthened and harmonized through Nadi Shodhana pranayama. Meditation and kriyas, Ida and Pingala, emotion and consciousness, are purified and brought into balance. And eventually the energy flows upwards along the Sushumna Nadi to the Sahasrara Chakra. As this happens, we enter into union with the divine consciousness, and enlightenment occurs. So, with that, we'll pause our reading of The Hidden Power in Humans for now. So thank you for listening. A very technical dissertation on the chakras, and I hope to learn more about this Bindu chakra, which is so elusive in many discourses. Namaste. And with that, we will begin to wrap our live stream up for tonight. But thank you, dear Hairspray Betty, for the flowers you sent as well. Hare Krishna. Billy, you share yam. You open my heart chakra. Well, that's good, because yam is the mantra to open the heart chakra. Lam Vam Ram Yam Ham Sham Those are called the Bija mantras, the seed syllables. Spirit sister, you share, you haven't said anything the whole time, but you've reflected and listened with your whole being, and that is a wonderful way of being. Thank you, dear sister. Can I do that again? Sure. All of the Bija syllables are formed by approximates. We start with the guttural, we start with the dental approximate for the root chakra. That is, we bring our tongue close to our teeth. Lam. Lam. That's the mantra for the root chakra to open the root. Then we create a labial approximate. Ooh, 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 with Mahaprana, lots of breath. Ooh, to make our lips vibrate. It's not touching our lips to our teeth. This is a subtle mistake. That the V in Sanskrit is not a labiodental. We do not bring our lip to our teeth. That's how we make a V sound in English. But in Sanskrit, it's purely our lips. We just give it enough air to vibrate. Ooh. That is the chant for the sacral chakra. Vam. Vam. For the solar plexus chakra, it has a retroflex approximate. We bring our tongue back. Mahaprana, lots of breath. Trill it. Ram. Then in our heart, we make a palatal approximate. We arch our tongue up to the soft palate. Yum. Yum. Higher in the throat. There we make guttural approximate. And unlike the guttural approximate in English, which is unvoiced, in voice our H sound is we don't voice it, but in Sanskrit we voice it. Hum, hum, hum. And then in the third eye chakra, we make another palatal approximate, but instead of voicing it, we just use our breath. Sham, sham. And then the crown chakra, it's a complement to the sacral chakra, which transitions between a labial sound and a guttural sound. We do it the other way around. Instead of going wham, we go aum, which of course is the mantra. Om. Om. These are the bija syllables to open each chakra. What is the bija for the bindu chakra? Well, I've never heard of it before, so I hope that we learn together as we read through the hidden power in humans. Thank you, Golai, for your rose. Radhe Radhe. And Anazek, thank you for your trio of roses. Hare Krishna. Thank you, JV, for your finger heart too. There's a finger heart for you as well. Om Sum Suryaya Namaha. There are many other bija syllables, such as that one, Sum. That's the bija, not for any chakra of those that we discussed, but for the sun. For the energy center of the sun, for Surya. Sum. Sum. There are many such bija syllables. For knowledge herself, knowledge is embodied as Saraswati, and her bija syllable is Aim. If you want to invoke the goddess of knowledge, you can say Aim. More about bijas another time. For now, we'll begin to really wrap things up for tonight. Stephen, you ask, it must be okay to not feel amazingly happy all the time. Must it? You're so confused. Oh, you are absolutely allowed to feel however you are feeling. And good observation, Billy. My name is kind of a combination of the root and heart mantras. Oh, I'm happy you felt so calm throughout this live stream, Tan. Welcome. I go live every day, and I'm very honored to host this space to so many wonderful people like yourself. Thank you, Mehrazar, for your rose. Om Kring Kalikaye Namaha. And Jill, thank you for your quartet of cloud breads. Om Shrim Mahalakshmaya Namaha. And Dasha, thank you for your heart me. Radhe Radhe. And Ragnhildur, thank you for your trio of roses. Thank you, Cookie, for your hand heart. Hari Om Tat Sat. Of course, yes. You are allowed to not be happy. That's one of the biggest obstacles when we are facing emotions. That if you feel like you should be joyful right now, oh, be kind to yourself. If you do want to be joyful, then one way of getting there is to allow the journey that takes place from where you're at to where you're headed. And if you're at right now a place of sadness, unhappiness, the journey must accommodate that, mustn't it? I wish I could show you this beautiful bunny. The bunny's even further away. Oh, hi bunny. Now you're hopping closer. Now you're looking at me. Hi. Alright, I'll try one more time to show you. Last time I showed the bunny, something weird happened with my phone. But they're literally right in front of the left foot of that ladder. You might even notice that the right foot of the ladder appears to extend slightly lower than the left. Well, that's because the bunny is perfectly sitting in front of the left. It's probably just a few pixels on your screen, to be clear. And the sun is very bright. Lovely blue sky. Anyway, I am blessed to have a bunny in this space. A wonderful animal. Yes, we're talking about you. Okay. Bunny wants cherries. All the cherries have been eaten up by now, but you are right. They are sitting under the cherry tree. That's why the ladder was there a few weeks ago. Spicy Mama, you share that you feel like you have no support. Well, in any way in which I can support you and accommodate you here in this space, let me know. I am sorry that you are feeling a bit alone right now, and I hope that you are able to express your needs with those that have a responsibility to support you. And I hope that through the practice of gratitude we can feel, at the same time manifest, all of the support around us in our community. And I hope that this community here can be an emotional support, spiritual support for you. And thank you for the reminder again. Very happy Sawan Shivrati, everyone. I will go give some water to my Shiva Lingam tonight. My day was going really well, Josephine. Thank you for asking. Well, I'm going to upload the recording of this live stream to my Yamsox Lives YouTube channel and other alternatives, all linked in the link tree in my bio. And there are dedicated playlists there for the readings, in case you wanted to listen to our book and any other book that we've been reading so far. Yes. May this be an offering to Sri Radha Krishna, the form of the divinity that I seek within you. I see and I seek and I serve and I sing. Radhe Krishna, Radhe Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Radhe Radhe, Radhe Shyama, Radhe Shyam, Shyam Shyama, Radhe Radhe. And much love to you, my dear bunny. Ever since I pointed them out, they've just been staring at me, unmoving. May you all have a wonderful rest of your morning or evening or afternoon or night. Or generally, may you all have a wonderful rest of your present moment.